Welcome back to the WebCast. It is Friday, so that means we are doing college football picks. We got a great of games starting tomorrow. I'm back. Doug's back. Let's do it. All right, welcome back to the WebCast. All sports, one web. Doug is back with us again. His first full week in a while since the hurricane and since he's been sick. So glad to have him back for a full week as we are doing college football week 7 picks. It's heating up. We got about 14 undefeated teams in college football remaining, and a bunch of them are facing off. We got 4 top 25 matchups this week. Some teams are also starting their buys. Ohio State is one of those teams that is on a bye week. But Michigan with a great win last week against Iowa, that great defense. Can Michigan go into Iowa City and get the win? That was kind of the question marks around Michigan's offense with Corum and McCarthy doing so well. Could they go in and do it? What did you feel about Michigan last week? We'll start there.
I felt pretty solid about Michigan last week. I believe we played Indiana last week.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I'm a week behind. I'm a week behind on.
But
Indiana. Sorry.
It's good to get the win, but I didn't think we played as good as we should have. I mean, I feel like we should really be, if we're really number 5 in the country. Well, we were number 4 in the country, and since we struggled, we kind of went to number 5. We kind of just haven't looked super dominant. We've really leaned heavily on the run game, which is fine, but we need to be able to have a pass game, and we've had quite a bit of deep opportunities, and that's why I was so high on J.J. McCarthy, because he's got the arm strength to really go downfield, and he's just been off. He's been, just super close. I mean, he's young, he's a sophomore, hasn't had too much game time under his belt, and he even said he feels like when he was in the game, he was throwing at 110%, and he just needs to realize that he's amped up and he needs to dial it back a little. It seems like he hasn't really found it completely yet. But once he does, I feel like we'll really start hitting those, because we've had quite a bit of wide open receivers downfield that he's just overthrown.
Yeah, I mean, it's been great to see him really after week, 2 or 3, when they finally gave him the full keys to the car to see how he was going to do, especially on the road a couple of weeks ago, and then again against Indiana last week, to see how he's been, because I feel like one of the most important things for quarterbacks, especially in college, is just experience. You're going to get better just as games go on, because you need to get that experience under your belt. So as the season progresses and he gets more faces some tougher challenges, it's going to help him a lot, and see if he's going to be settled in or if he's actually going to be broken, and only time will tell. But great week, a great test this week as a top 10 ranked Penn State travel up to Ann Arbor to take on Michigan. We will start there with our picks this week, week 7. We do all our picks through ESPN, so go ahead and make your account and get your picks in and pick along with us. So Michigan last week against Indiana. Penn State also undefeated, coming in at 5-0 to take on Michigan, a place that they've only won twice in Ann Arbor since, I believe, 2009, 2010. So not a comfortable place for the Nittany Lions to go and get a win. Sean Clifford and Singleton will be leading that offense. Singleton 7.3 yards per carry versus Corum, who is, from Michigan, kind of entering himself in the Heisman race with how hard he's run, only at 6.2. So, Singleton obviously coming on strong with that multitude of backs with Allen that Penn State has. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely incredible. I believe his first 3 games, he got 10 carries in each of those, over 100 yards for all 3 of them, and got some scores on the board as well. So he has been playing fantastic. So we know that the running game is going to be huge between both of them. But both teams boast a top 10 run defense going into this game. Penn State only allowing just under 80 yards per game. Michigan just under 82 yards per game. Both of their backs obviously are used to 100+ games. So who is going to be able to stop who? And is that your key for this game? Who's going to be able to establish the run?
Oh, absolutely. That's what both teams are built on, running the football. We haven't really beat anybody through the air. And if we can establish the run, we can control the clock. We can just make run out long possessions, tire out the defense, and just give the ball to Corum 33 times a game for 200 yards. We'll win. That's how it works for us. Penn State, same way. They really just need to get the run game going. But honestly, Michigan has the best offensive line in the country for the run. I think that we will be able to run the ball. I don't know if we're going to be able to have 250 yards on the ground like we have been the past few weeks, but I think we'll be able to open up some holes. Corum's going to run hard, and he's going to get those, 3 or 4 yards on third down that we need. I think Michigan's going to take this game. We're at home. It's a maze out. It's going to be electric, and I think that we will be able to run the ball on Penn State.
Yeah, big noon kickoff there between Penn State and Michigan up in Ann Arbor. And I agree with you. I have the edge, even in the passing game, which I think the running game is going to be kind of where this game is made, or whoever is going to be able to do is going to walk away with the win. But I also have the edge in the passing game to Michigan with J.J. McCarthy over Sean Clifford. J.J. McCarthy completing 78% of his passes. I did not know it was that high this season.
They've been doing shorter ones across the middle.
Yeah.
What I've been begging for. They're finally throwing some shorter routes across the middle and just trying to get him into a rhythm. And for a young quarterback, that's
exactly what you want.
Get him into the rhythm, see him catching the ball. You just need those few throws to start the game off. And then if we can hit a couple of those over the top, then yes, I think we'll be a really tough team to beat with our defense.
Yeah, and I think that is exactly what a young quarterback needs, those little short intermediate throws. Make sure you get the completions down, especially when you have such a great running game and offensive line there to help you out. So I agree with you. Michigan moving to 6-0, getting over a top 10 ranked Penn State this weekend. Big noon kickoff as we will move to what seemed was a great game last year. If you remember, Oklahoma up by, I think, 4 it was, with 3 minutes left, going for it on 4th down around midfield when Caleb Williams hands it off to the back. The back gets stopped in his tracks. Caleb Williams then pulls the ball away from his back and takes off for the first down. Oklahoma goes down and ices that game with another touchdown. But Kansas leading that game at halftime and for a short period of time into that third quarter last year. They haven't beaten Oklahoma since 1996. Now they'll travel to Norman after Oklahoma got a mud hole stomped in them against Texas in Red River. Jalen Daniels got hurt last week for Kansas against TCU. He's out for the season, separated shoulder. So that's definitely going to put a dent in Kansas's chances here. But with Oklahoma failing to score last week, allowing 41 plus points in 3 consecutive games, do you give Kansas a chance here against Oklahoma?
Absolutely. I think Kansas is going to win this game, and I don't think they're going to let it. They're going to let it slip away like it did last year for them. They're a good team.
Even with Daniels hurt, you've got Kansas.
They're a good team.
They're
just all around a solid team, and I like them in this game. I think Oklahoma is not where they were. I think the coach Brett Venables, the defensive coordinator for Clemson for a long time. I don't know what's going on there, but he doesn't have this team firing on all cylinders, and I think it really hurt when their head coach left to USC, Lincoln Riley, and he took all of his players with him, it seems.
Yeah, a lot of transfers for both those teams this past season.
So I think Kansas are going to walk away with this one.
See, I disagree. I mean, Oklahoma to allow 40-plus points with that, one of the, last 5 years, the best defensive coordinator in all of college football, is just, I just can't believe what I'm watching here. They are terrible on defense, just terrible. We saw what Adrian Martinez was in the Big 12 before he went down to Kansas State. He was decent. He was definitely a dual threat quarterback, could run, could pass, but there's a reason why he ended up leaving Nebraska, who is just in ruin at the moment. And he was able to go into Norman and put up 41 against that Oklahoma Sooners defense. Granted, it's with a team that historically gives Oklahoma trouble. Still, absolutely incredible. Quinn Ewers, we know what he's all about last week, coming back after his injury. We saw what he did against Alabama, and he just continued that.
Great to see.
Third game. He's played He's been the starter for 3 college football games in his career. One against Alabama, he was winning until he got hurt, and the other was a 49-0 victory against Oklahoma. He's definitely turning into that 5-star recruit that he was out of Texas. Taking the Longhorns to places, I think personally, the favorites to win the Big 12. But Kansas currently near the top of the standings, might have a say about that. But I would go Oklahoma here. I just can't see the train continuously crashing and burning and catching on fire for a 4th consecutive time. I just can't see it, especially with Jalen Daniels being hurt. I don't know how to convince you to go with Oklahoma on this one after their recent performances, but I do have Oklahoma here. Can I convince you to join us in the 23% to go Oklahoma to win at home against Kansas?
I'm always good for one underdog pick in this one, so we can pick Oklahoma.
Who would have thought Oklahoma underdogs to Kansas at home?
They have been really, really bad this year in a few of their losses. I agree. They're a huge school. They have a great program, a good coach. He's a good coach, so they got to right the ship at some point. They have the players. It's a big school. They're going to get good recruits. I can see it. Especially with Daniels being hurt. I could see that being a problem for Kansas. I like Kansas, but I can see it in Oklahoma.
All right. Yeah, I got Oklahoma in that one, even though I don't know what to expect from either of these teams. Backup quarterback for Kansas after a tough loss against TCU last week. Oklahoma, obviously. Their 3 consecutive losses of letting up 40-plus points, which is absolutely remarkable. So who knows
Just
what's going to happen. Maybe
I wanted Kansas.
You wanted Kansas? All right. We'll add it to the list of conflicts that we've had this week in our picks. But we move on to the Golden Gophers traveling to the Fighting Illini. Who would have thought both these teams entering 4-1 and 5-1, only 2 losses between them. Entering this one, Minnesota with Ibrahim touchdowns on the year, traveling into Illinois, who have been playing well, squeaked by with a 9-6 win last week against Iowa. Their quarterback, DeVito, also coming off of an injury. Will he play? Will he not play? We will see. I'm leaning Minnesota in this one, and I love to row the boat. I love to row the boat. So are you going to be joining me, Minnesota, going in to Illinois and picking up a win against the 24th ranked team in the AP poll?
I think so. Illinois just scares me because we've watched them for so long be so bad with Lovie Smith, and Brett Bielema's really turning it around there, it seems. But can he keep it up with this team, with this Illinois team? I don't know. They're obviously a good team. They're 5-1. They're ranked 24th in the country. They're doing something right. But I agree. I think Ibrahim has a huge day, and I think it's going to be row the boat time.
All right, let's go row the boat to 5-1 as Minnesota will take control there. Going 5-1 in the Big 10. Alabama, Tennessee. Oh my gosh, another great matchup as we see number 6 Tennessee traveling. Number 3 Alabama traveling to number 6 Tennessee for this one. The Burnt Orange haven't beat Nick Saban at Alabama ever. They've lost 15 straight to Alabama, but I feel like if you were going to snap a 15 game losing streak to a team, the time is definitely now to do so. Nick Saban came out yesterday in his last press conference and his radio show, I think he does during the week. This is the last time the news will get to talk to him about Bryce Young. And he said that he was very limited in practice this week. It's going to determine whether or not on Saturday if he is feeling pain and if he can throw effectively without hurting himself further. He was out last week. We saw what a close game that was away or again at home against Texas A&M. Now they travel on the road again, which may be a problem for Alabama the last couple of years, and they go against that high-powered Tennessee offense, averaging 10.77 yards per passing attempt. That is incredible.
That is pretty good.
0 turnovers for Hooker through the air this year as well, so they're not turning the ball over. 340 yards passing per game. Do you see that this is finally the time that Tennessee takes one against Alabama?
Absolutely. There is no better time for them to just give them everything they have, because this is a team that can beat Alabama. Alabama doesn't look quite as strong as they have in the past. They're quite as dominant like an NFL team playing against high schoolers. This is an Alabama team that is a great team, but they're on the same level as everybody else. And Tennessee is a really, really good football team. Me and you both kind of assumed they would fall off like they normally do, but they're not falling off. They're playing everybody tough, and they are putting up points. Like you said, their offense, 10 or 11 yards per pass attempt. That is ridiculously good. I have Tennessee in this game. I think it's going to be too hard. I don't think Alabama's going to have Bryce Young, and they're going to Tennessee. Watch out for Peyton Manning in the crowd on the sideline somewhere. He'll be there.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I think Tennessee is going to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, they played this was such a big matchup last year going into it, because everybody, was like, with Hooker, especially under center last year, that everyone was going into that matchup thinking that Tennessee could put up points, they could put up against even Alabama. And in Nick Saban's rebuilding year, which, they only went and, made it to the national championship game. And it just didn't work out that way. Alabama showed that they were Alabama, put that game away pretty comfortably. But this year, with Hooker playing even at a better level, 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, like I said, I think that the Alabama defense can get got at, especially in that secondary, and Tennessee is built to do that.
Tennessee is built for speed. They are built for fast everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And if Bryce Young doesn't play, I mean, Texas A&M had a play from the 6-yard line last week to win that at the end of the game, and Texas A&M has been, terrible in half of their games this year.
Super bad this year.
And so if Texas A&M were able to put themselves in a position to win against Alabama without Bryce Young, Tennessee, I think, will have no problem in winning without Bryce Young. Now, if Bryce Young does play, I think that this is obviously going to be a closer matchup. You only add the Heisman winner, but I do still think Tennessee take this. And
I think Tennessee win this game regardless of who plays for Alabama.
Regardless of who plays. There you go. So we got Tennessee over Alabama in this one. Alabama dropped from 1 to 3 in the AP poll this week after that poor performance without Bryce Young against Texas A&M. How far will they fall if they go ahead and lose to 6th-ranked Tennessee? But now that I
don't think very far.
Not very far. Okay, so that's a follow-up question that I have for you. Okay, Tennessee get the great fortune this year of not only playing Alabama not only playing Georgia, which is in the eastern side of the SEC with Tennessee, but they get to draw and play Alabama from the West. So they have to play both of them in the regular season. Obviously, beating Georgia is going to be important if they want to actually go on to the SEC championship game. But If Alabama lose to Tennessee, Tennessee lose to Georgia, and Alabama beat Georgia in the SEC championship game, what would be your ranking? Let's say they win, all teams win the rest of their games. What would be your ranking between Alabama, Georgia, and Tennessee within the SEC? Alabama, the SEC champ, but lost to Tennessee. Tennessee didn't get to make the SEC championship. They beat the SEC champion, but they lost to Georgia. Georgia beat Tennessee, but didn't also win the SEC championship.
You have to have Alabama as the best in that division.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They're the champion. They won when it mattered. They made it to the finals. That's all that matters. So really, it would be Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee. Unfortunately.
So just like that.
Unfortunately, but I mean, that would be a wild scenario if that happened, and that would be amazing for college football as a whole, because then teams like Ohio State and Michigan, if one of them is going to win the game, so if we go undefeated but we beat each other, and then the other one, wins the Big Ten championship, that still makes an argument for both of them to make the championship or the playoffs if they both play amazing, and then maybe only one SEC team get in, all with one loss. But I doubt it. I doubt it. The only way that would work is if we did 2 SEC teams and 2 Big Ten teams, and that'll never happen. So
I know that's the interesting thing about Tennessee kind of adding their hat to the rink here this year. Is it going to hurt or help the SEC when it all gets shaken out at the end in terms of having 2+ teams?
I think it's going to help just because of the sheer competition. So whoever wins the SEC is going to be top dog, because they know that especially if they play Tennessee and Alabama. So basically one of these 3 teams, we all assume they're going to either win out or be a one-loss team as the SEC champion. I think it helps because they have so many good wins on their resume. So I think it just helps. And then if the number 2 team in the SEC, who, if it's Georgia versus Alabama, and if Georgia's a one-loss team, but then they lose to Alabama or Tennessee in the championship game, they're still a 2-loss team, but their 2 losses are against 2 of the best teams in the country.
Yeah.
So it would be tough.
Yeah,
you can always make an argument for Georgia to go in.
Yeah, and that's the thing. All 3 of these teams currently ranked inside the top 6. If Tennessee get the win here, Alabama, you would expect to fall. If they don't have Bryce Young, they might not fall as far. But it's so hard to tell, because you would assume that the game against Texas, Bryce Young did play and Quinn Ewers played half the game, and Alabama squeaked out a win. If Quinn Ewers was healthy, Texas could arguably have not only beaten Alabama, but then beaten Texas Tech, stomped a mud hole in Oklahoma, and now have been 6-0 to start the season.
Yeah.
Instead, we have them at 4-2 and not ranked. Where so how can that happen for Texas? You don't contribute to Quinn Ewers. I mean, most people have written them off that they won't make the playoff because no 2-loss team has ever made the playoff. Alabama, even if they don't have Bryce Young, should fall based on the loss, even though Tennessee is a 6th-ranked team. So it'll be interesting to see how far they do fall. But I think that...
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they just swapped ranks.
It's really just 3rd to 6th?
Yeah, Alabama's now 6 and Tennessee's 3. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be super happy with it because I think they should fall a little bit further, like 7 or 8. But I don't think they would because they're Alabama and they are a good team. So it's not like they're not worthy of the 6th rank. But I think if Oklahoma State wins this weekend, then Oklahoma State should be number 6 or number 7. If Penn State were to beat Michigan, they should be number 6 or they should move up because they're number 10. So I think that would also, if Michigan wins, Penn State loses, Oklahoma State loses, then you can maybe see a swap. But if all those teams win, then you have to bump them behind the undefeated teams that have played tough games.
Yeah. Especially when you look at USC traveling to Utah this week as well. They're currently ranked 7th, right behind Tennessee. Mm-hmm. So depending on how that game goes, obviously they're going to either get a good win on their resume or if they can win that one. And obviously you would expect them to stay ahead of an Alabama who may have, traveled on the road to Tennessee and took an L. So we will see, but a great slate of games here. So go ahead
really
and get
excited for this one.
Yeah, that's what's going to be great. Get your picks in at ESPN.com and pick along with us. We do NFL on Tuesdays, Premier League on Wednesdays, and college football on Fridays as we move to the Big 12 with two undefeated teams, Oklahoma State and TCU. TCU beating Kansas last time out. Oklahoma, however, won this meeting last year at home 63-17. A lot of those TCU players played in that game are back and ready for this one as the 13th ranked Horned Frogs host the 8th ranked Cowboys. Who do you got? TCU, Oklahoma State.
This is the closest game that the people have picked. And I think that we've seen on any of our platforms that we pick for 52-48. I'm actually surprised that the 52 goes to TCU, but it must be just because they're playing at TCU. But I think it's going to be that close of a game where that may just be the edge, is that they are at home.
Yeah.
This is going to be a really, really good game. But I am a huge fan of Oklahoma State. I think their quarterback is just a star. I think he is awesome. And I think he will put the team on his back and get them through this game, because that's basically going to be this game. Nobody's going to really outshine the other, in my opinion. I think it's going to be who can just get through it at the end.
Yeah, Oklahoma State throwing 62 passes last week against the high-flying Texas Tech offense, able to pull out a win there. But TCU at home, I like TCU at home. I feel like the Big 12, we have a lot of, for me, the Big 12 is the hardest to predict. I do lean Texas coming out of this. If they can stay healthy, I think the quality will show through there. Quinn Ewers is going to get better and better with every game that he plays. He's already played some great competition and shown that he is that dude. So I am leaning Texas to kind of come back through this conference, as they will play, all of these teams. And I think they will lead it. But for the rest of them, I like whoever is playing at home. I think they're all honestly, talented
it could
teams.
Just be that.
Yeah, exactly. We saw Baylor lose out, I think, away to West Virginia yesterday. And we had Baylor, Oklahoma State as well a couple weeks ago. And we went with the home team in that one as well. I just feel like the home team in the Big 12 gets that little bit of an advantage. And I can't separate them other than that. And so for me, I'm leaning TCU in this one to go to 6-0 and get a win over Oklahoma State.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a super, super tough game. It would be one that I would not bet on. That's for sure. If this wasn't free, I would just skip this game. I don't know.
Just skip it completely.
This will be one to watch. It's a shame that it's playing at the same time as Tennessee and Alabama.
Yeah, and all the eyes are going to be drawn, especially leading up to that game in warm-ups. How's Bryce Young looking when he's throwing just in street clothes? Is he going to play? Yeah. Is he not going to play? Leading up to that, he's playing, let's go. He's not playing, let's go. And
it's
going to take
it looks like you may
attention.
Want to go to your local sports bar to watch the 3:30 games, because there's some really good games.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is in.
And it gets better in the next one.
Oh yeah, as we see a battle of the ACC powerhouses, the teams that always like to try and push Clemson. NC State at 5-1, traveling to ranked Syracuse. Now, I'm actually kind of surprised that the Wolfpack are 67% in this one. Syracuse with a great start to the season, undefeated so far. But are you leaning more towards the Wolfpack in this one over the Syracuse Orange here?
I think so. Just based on history. Historically, NC State is a better team than Syracuse is. Now, if this was basketball, different story. But NC State are always a solid team and a tough team to play. But, honestly, Syracuse is tough to play at home. So
yeah, we've seen that with Clemson over the years.
Yeah, I think this is another game that's tough to really call on, but I think I like Syracuse in this game, actually. You know what? I changed my mind. I think I like Syracuse in this game.
I am all for it. The line really is even for this one.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised that it is such a one-sided here in the picks.
I agree.
And I love Syracuse home in the dome there. I'm going for it. Let's go Syracuse Orange to get the upset win, I guess. I don't know if it's even if you're technically the underdog in that one at home there. Let's go Syracuse. NC State just beat Florida State last week, 19-17. Now Florida State turned their attention to take on the top tiger in the ACC, Clemson, 6-0, traveling down to Florida to take on the Seminoles. Who do you got in this one?
I think Clemson are too good for Florida State in this game. I look forward to Clemson playing NC State or Syracuse, but I don't think Florida State really has much of a chance against Clemson in this one. Maybe next year. They're on the right track. They're trending in the right direction, but I don't think this is their year for this.
Yeah, we started off so well with that great win against LSU. You know, maybe that was going to be like Florida State might be able to be that team to challenge Clemson in the ACC. We've seen what LSU have been since then, not very great, and Florida State has kind of followed suit, 2 consecutive losses against ranked opponents. And so now they take on 4th-ranked Clemson. I will give Clemson the win as well.
I think Florida State's good enough to beat the teams that they should, without problem. But I don't think they're good enough yet to beat the teams that they aren't really supposed to beat. I just don't think they have that in them. Not yet. But they're close. They're a good team.
Yeah. All right. A team that started off so well, Kentucky, now find themselves 22 in the country at 4-2 as they host the Mississippi State Bulldogs, who also are ranked in another one of our top 25 ranked matchups. This is at 7:30, so you can get the Alabama, Tennessee out of the way and then focus in on another great SEC matchup here between Kentucky and Mississippi State. Who do you got in this one?
I got the Bulldogs in this one. I really wish they were playing at home because I love when they do the cowbells, which doesn't make sense because they're the Bulldogs, but it's okay.
Yeah, it does. Okay. We let it slide.
Yeah, it's all right. But I think they're going to win this game. I think they are a really solid team, and I think Kentucky, I just don't think they have what it takes in this one. I really don't.
Yeah, Kentucky, 2 consecutive losses, including last time out against South Carolina at home. Mississippi State at 5-1. I will agree with you. I'm rolling Bulldogs in this one to go in and get a win. As we now move to the other matchup of the top 25 that we mentioned a little earlier in the show, one that you and I have already debated a little bit offline here. USC traveling to Salt Lake to take on the Utes. I will let you go first here before I will rebuttal. So I let you take this one. Who do you got? USC versus Utah.
Future Big Ten conference team USC will win this game. They are too good of a team. Their offense is just too much for Utah. Period. That's it. We're done.
We're done. Okay.
We're done.
I will give you that. Utah's 2 losses this season, away to UCLA last week, away to Florida to kick off this season. They're averaging 35.5 points against in their 2 losses. So when you beat Utah, you beat them by scoring points. Utah also only forced 1 turnover in those games against good opposition, but still only 1 turnover. So that is how you beat Utah. But the thing is, both of those games were away. Utah is at home in this one.
Matter.
And let me tell you why that is important. USC on the road played 2 road games so far with Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley, all their transfers, blah, blah, blah. A lot of people like to say that last year doesn't matter, which does include a very very good performance from Cam Rising, who's from Ventura, California, right outside LA against USC. But we will skip the fact that Utah beat them in the Coliseum last year because of all the new transfers. So we'll stick to just this year. 2 away games, away to Stanford earlier in the season and away to Oregon State. The game against Oregon State, USC, your high-powered offense, only scored off of Oregon State turnovers that gave the ball to USC in Oregon State in territory, or USC had to go for it on 4th down to advance late in the game to actually win the game when they were losing. Those are the only 3 times they scored against Oregon State away from home. They scored 17 points. Okay. Game against Stanford, they forced 4 turnovers as well in that game for a total of 8 turnovers in both away games so far. And they've only won 58-42 in those 2 combined games. They are +8 in the turnover margin in 2 away from home games, which is fantastic. But they've only been able to capitalize to the tune of 52-42. Cam Rising, however, on Utah at home has thrown less interceptions than both Bryce Young and CJ Stroud at home in the last 2 years. He doesn't turn over the football. Utah doesn't lose at home. USC is great at turning over the football, but it just cannot keep up, especially when they're playing away at a night game, 8 p.m. in Salt Lake City. And for all of those reasons, I got the Utes in this one to give Lincoln Riley his first loss as coach of the Trojans.
I'll give it to you just because of that great filibuster there. I mean, that was nice. I'll give it to you.
Thank you, Cam Rising, man.
I'll give it to you.
Also, his highest completion percentage was last year when Utah went into the Coliseum and got their first win in the stadium's history, which is only 9 games, but still against USC. 78% completion against that USC defense, which is obviously overturned a little bit with the transfer portal this offseason. But still, he loves to play USC. He's from LA. I'm going Utes.
I tell you, I would love to see Utah win. I just don't.
Well, then you just got to wait until 10 p.m. on Saturday.
But I'll go with it.
All right. I'll
go with it. I like the upset picks. I do.
I don't think this is an upset pick. This is what's just going to happen. That is not an upset. That's because they don't know what they're talking about.
Oh.
Utah doesn't turn over the football at home. USC doesn't win unless they get turnovers. USC is +14 in the turnover margin. The next closest team in all of FBS is +9. They are 5 more. That's 150% more than second place.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. That's the reason for it.
I mean, through 6 games, they're doing it, but
I know, so it's going to come back.
I don't think so.
It's just it has to come back. They're away from home. I got Utah big in that one.
Big.
Oh, multiple touchdowns, at least 14 points.
Oh wow, oof, that's bold. All right, hey, I was wanted on the record, guys. I wanted USC, but that's okay.
Doug got USC. And what was the other one earlier today?
The other one was
Kansas. All right, there we go. It's on the record.
Thank you.
It's on the record. I know you are just bending over for my picks. Thank you for coming to my side.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm just saving it.
Oregon State, a couple weeks ago, great performance against USC. Washington State, also a good performance against USC. I believe last week it was. Both took an L. Oregon State at home. Who do you got? Cougars, Beavers?
I got Cougars purely because I like their coach. That's really it.
I could support it. I think that this will be a low-scoring game.
I think it'll be a good game. I really do.
I think it'll be good. I think defensively, both these teams will show up there. Another, I guess it's 5 p.m. Was that a 6 p.m. kickoff there, local time?
No, in all seriousness, though, I Washington State played Wisconsin really, really tough, and they beat Wisconsin, and that's, I mean, granted, Wisconsin's not as great as they have been the past few years, but I mean, beating Wisconsin anytime is just a good.
It requires a certain style for sure.
Yeah, it's a good win to beat Wisconsin. So
yeah,
I do like Washington State. I think they're a good team, and I also like their coach. So it's just a cherry on top.
Yeah, it just helps. I mean, only down a field goal to USC before USC kind of ran away with it, scoring three possessions there in the second half to Washington State 0. Kind of let that score get away from them, but halftime in the Coliseum only down 3. I think that they can hold their own, especially with the style of play that they got there. So I will agree with you. Go Cougars, go.
Nice.
And there we go. All 10 picks. A great slate of college football with playoff implications everywhere. Who's going to win? Who's going to be in the driver's seat? Arguably with Ohio State after this Big Ten matchup. Who's going to take control in the Big 12 with the great games that they have there? Oklahoma State, TCU, Kansas, all of them in great action. ACC, we feel like Clemson's kind of run away with that one. But the big one, obviously, the top 6 matchup between Alabama and Tennessee. So go ahead before tomorrow, get your picks in here at ESPN.com. Pick 'em college football and pick along with us and enjoy the great slate of sports that we have this weekend. We got baseball continuing. What a great playoff it's been so far. We got EPL, another week. NFL really starting to heat up. Bills, Chiefs as well in that one this weekend. And just enjoy it and come back here Tuesday, 7 p.m. as we go through the NFL recap of Week 6 and our
we talk about the Chiefs
7.
win.
I think in the notes, if you go back, I got Bills by 40 or something like that. So we will see on that one. We have like our own little mini pick system going.
I know. We're gonna need separate accounts. This is getting tough.
It's getting too heated. Yeah. We're gonna have to bring on a third person for all of these. So come on, join us Tuesday, 7 p.m. Get your comments in. Pick along with us. See if you can't persuade us one way or another. We'd love to hear from you. So come join us 7 p.m. From all of us at WebCast. I'm Adam, and that is Doug, and we will see you on Tuesday.